Jesus said, "Man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." You're listening to Daily Truth.
Really, the entirety of our text is that God threatens absolutely terrifying, horrific, terrible things, eternally terrible things to those who won't be eternally and gloriously happy in Him. Because people will say, what's the problem with this Christian God? Why is He so insecure? Why does He have to have everybody love Him? Right? I mean, He just sounds like a deified teenager on TikTok. You know, like he seems so petty, right? And so vengeful. You know, that he's going to say, you gotta believe in Jesus, His Son, and accept Him by faith and do this and obey His commandments and all this kind of stuff, or He's going to send you to hell for eternity. Yes, that is correct. Yes. Number one, because eternity in hell, underneath the just wrath of God, is the only just, equal weights and measures. It's the only just, fair punishment for someone who commits cosmic treason against God and rejects God's means of reconciliation and forgiveness. Notice, it's not just that people go to hell because they reject Jesus. No, people go to hell because man that was made from the dirt of the ground rises up and raises his fist in defiance against the living God who created him. People go to hell because they actually sin against God. And not once, not twice, but with every fiber of their being, every moment of the day. Genesis 6 is still just as true for man at the inward level, at the heart level today, as it was in the days of Noah. That every intention of his heart was only evil continually. The only difference in the day of Noah, I think two primary differences, the day of Noah and our day today, at the level of the heart, and speaking of the doctrine of total depravity, how evil man is inwardly in regards to his position towards God, his affections or lack thereof towards God, namely his hatred towards God. The picture of Genesis 6 is exactly the same in 2022 of man that is unregenerate, unbelieving, non-Christian man at the level of the heart. The only difference in Genesis 6 is twofold. Number one, equally totally depraved inwardly at the level of the heart, but there is a degree, a spectrum of varying degrees of that evil at the heart level being manifest outwardly in deeds and actions. And in Genesis 6, that evil at the heart level was coming out in various forms of actions, barbaric violence on a regular basis. Whereas today, it's not that people are nicer, kinder, no, but those debased urges, that total depravity is being held at bay. It's being at some degree restrained, and in large part, the reason why it's being restrained is because of certain laws that we have in the civil sphere, because our nation in its founding was founded on Christian principles. Deuteronomy, Leviticus, these were the texts that were quoted in the founding of our nation. And those things, penalties for criminals, penalties for the vile and the wicked, if they express those things in crimes and great injustices outwardly in their actions, those penalties, the threat of penalties, is causing people to restrain the outward manifestations of the inward evil of their heart. Inwardly, people today just as vile as the people in Genesis 6. Outwardly, there's a much greater level of restraint in terms of actions today, and that's because our society today is on the heels of a prior Christendom. Now, those foundations are being eroded, and as they are, progressively, we see people, not just at the inward level, but on the outward level as well, in terms of words and deeds and actions, we see our society becoming ever more degraded as the foundations, that shield, right? That's the second use of the law of God, that it works as a restraint, as a shield, holding back the evil at bay. And as that shield is further eroded, Right? When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? As that shield, the second use of the law, is further despised and further eroded, we're now seeing the total depravity that was always there inwardly for those who are unbelievers now beginning to manifest itself visibly in outward deeds and actions, but not to the level of Genesis 6. That's one difference between people today and the people of the days of Noah, is outward manifestations of evil. No difference in terms of inward total depravity. Evil at the level of the heart.